Hi, everyone. We're going to post a recording, one of my favorite recordings we did over the last few years when we invited Ringu Tulku Rinpoche down to give a talk about Guru principle and devotion. I found this talk really inspiring, and let me read a little bit of the description. During this session, Ringu Tulku Rinpoche discusses how to cultivate a discerning attitude to avoid the potential pitfalls of devotion and how mindfulness-awareness meditation plays a central role in expressing our intelligent heart. We're going to hear from Matt DeRodio in a minute, who has a pretty close friendship with Ringu Tulku Rinpoche, about why we invited him down and why we asked him to give this particular talk, which was titled Intelligent Heart, Devotion in the Buddhist Path.
So it had to do, it was when all the, 2019, when things were falling apart within Sogyo Rinpoche's community, and then this, with the Shambhala community, and people were kind of like, there was a lot of disruption. People were very brokenhearted and feeling they were committed. And, that's one of the heartbreaking parts. I mean, how does one, and this is the important part, you make a commitment, but it's not to some kind of God or some kind of person. This person is representing an aspect of you. So there has to be an element of intelligence, critical thinking, but it all leads to devotion. And what is genuine devotion in this path? If one is having some understanding of the principle of the bond, which is called in Sanskrit samaya, but the fundamental samaya really is to one's awakening, to one's waking up. But as one understands what that teacher is representing and clarifying for you and being a mirror for your own awakened mind, intelligence is part of that. So in the final analysis, devotion really is about your awareness and your connection on how that extends further into the world. So that's, how that, I wanted him to speak to that because a lot of people were so disheartened.
Yeah.
What the hell is this whole thing about guru principle? We don't need it. This is an archaic system. And, and some of the criticism is right, is correct.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank for inviting me here, and that all of you could spend this evening with me here. Devotion, he gives a nice title. What is it called?
Intelligent heart.
Intelligent heart. Devotion is regarded as a very important aspect. I think in many different spiritual traditions, and it has a place in Buddhism also. But in Buddhism, it's described, it's understood a little bit differently. It is very clearly explained in 3 stages. First is inspiration. Inspiration is the Tibetan word for that is tangwa. That means that whether it's a book that we are reading or a kind of teaching that you listen to, or sometimes a person that you meet, whatever which actually inspires you, which you feel is correct, where you can kind of where there is a kind of feeling that this is right, or this is truth, or that you can connect with. So that inspires you. There's something that is that touches you at your core, in your heart. That's called. That's my watch talking. And that's a kind of devotion. That's the beginning of a devotion. That inspires you. And this inspiration is important because, something that rings true, that touches your heart, that you feel is genuine. That is that's the first devotion. But this devotion can be not always, what can you say, reliable. You can be touched by lots of different things, wrongly also sometimes. So therefore, it's a good thing, it's an important thing. It's the beginning of a true devotion, but it's not completely reliable because you can be inspired by many different things in different situations and things like that. This leads to the second level of devotion. And that's what we call as aspiration. Now you are touched or you are inspired. You feel that this, I would like to explore this. I would like to try to actualize this situation, or I would like to become or make myself kind of become like that situation. Whether it's a person, then you want to become like that person. Whether it's a teaching, you want to actualize that experience. And that is called aspiration. And you actually try to go a little bit more deeper into that. That is the second kind of devotion. And here, it's not just inspired, but you also do some actual experiment, maybe, practice, or, go deeper into this that you are inspired with, and try to look at it a little bit more closely, become a little bit more intimate, you can say, if you like. And that's called the aspiration. And most of the devotion practices, whether it's a teaching or whatever, is in this level, aspiration. And then you kind of try to learn that, try to understand that. And then that supposed to lead you to the third kind of a devotion, which is what we call certainty. Now this certainty is, coming out of actually experimenting, training, going deeper into that. And then you kind of, through your investigation, through your practice, through your learning, through your, working on it, you find a very clear certainty that this is actually the way it is. There is nothing other than that. This is the truth. This is the right thing. And when you have that certainty, that's what we call the true devotion. And so that true devotion is not so easy. It's quite difficult. And therefore devotion is not loyalty. Because many times people take devotion as a little bit like a loyalty, I'm devoted to this. I'm devoted to this person. Means like I just, I am kind of committed. This is not necessarily what we think about the true devotion that we talk about in Tibetan Tepa. And so when, that certainty kind of devotion is always regarded as a very important foundation. Not only actually the essence, not only foundation that you kind of start with, but essence of the practice. Because when you have that, then that's it. Like there's a story that when Gampopa, the Gampopa was the kind of the most important lineage holder of Milarepa, the most renowned Tibetan yogi called Milarepa. So Gampopa went to see Milarepa, and he felt very inspired by him. When he first heard the name of Milarepa, he felt so inspired that he kind of left there without able to move for a couple of minutes. And then he had this strong intention that he must find this person and meet him and receive teachings from him. So he went through lots of difficulties to find him. Maybe some of you know this story, how he heard about Milarepa. You know this story? No? Some people don't know, so I should tell. Gampopa at that time was a Kadampa student, and he was, following the Kadampa tradition. He had many masters. He studied very well. He already became very learned. He was already learned before he was a very learned physician. And then he used to have a kind of a repeated dream that one green-colored yogi comes and bless him and goes away. And then he went to his teacher and said that, I have this repeated dream that one green-colored yogi comes and bless me and goes away. What is this? And his teacher said, I don't know, but it could be an obstacle. So you should do a retreat on Miowa. There's a practice called Miowa, Achala, which is supposed to be good at, getting rid of obstacles of your meditation. So you should do a retreat on this. So he did. He found a small retreat, kind of a cabin outside the monastery, a little bit on the top of the mountain. And then he was doing retreat there. And every evening he used to go for a walk around the monastery. And on that path, below a hanging rock, there was 3 beggars sleeping. And then one night, these 3 beggars were kind of talking, just talking, chatting. And one beggar was saying that, I wish tomorrow a rich sponsor comes to the monastery and he offers a very nice soup, a very thick soup with lots of meat in it, and a very big piece of meat with lots of fat may fall into my cup. So when he was saying this, the next beggar was saying, if you make a wish, can't you make it a little bit better than that? You are a man, you are a human being, and you can't, your wish can't go a little bit better than that. Just a cup of nice soup, And then he said, but what would you wish? What kind of bigger and higher wish you have? He said, the wish, you can wish anything, it's not necessary that you have to wish something small. I would wish to be like the king of Tibet, who can, conquer many countries, and he's so powerful and so strong and so rich and so brave and so nice, and why can't we wish like that? It's just a wish anyway. And then the eldest one was saying that, please don't talk like this, wishing for a cup of soup and things like that, because usually at this time that retreatant is walking around this place, and if he hears, he would be laughing at us. And at that time, he was actually walking that way, and he could hear everything. And then he said that if you really have to wish something, I would wish even better than the king of Tibet. And they said, what is better than king of Tibet? He said, I could wish to be like Milarepa. I said, what is Milarepa? Milarepa is somebody who is, totally free from all kind of problems. He doesn't need any food to eat. He doesn't need any clothes to wear. He can stay highest snow mountains without even, just with a little bit of a cotton shawl. He doesn't need any food. He can fly from one mountain to another. He's totally enlightened. He's got rid of all the problems forever. I could wish something like that. And that's better than the king of Tibet. So during this discussion, Gampopa was listening. And then when he heard the name Milarepa, he felt so inspired, like we were talking about. And so he went home, made a soup exactly the way they were talking about. And this next morning he came and invited them to his cabin and said, I'm very sorry, but I heard what you were discussing last night. And I have this soup, so please come and have some soup with me. So they went there, they had soup. And then he said, I really want to find this Milarepa. Where is he? So if you can guide me to that person, I will be, very grateful, and I'll pay you whatever you need. So that's how he came to meet Milarepa. And he was with Milarepa for not very long time, actually. He was there, and he got all the teachings, he practiced them, he got the, signs, results, and things like that. And then one day, Milarepa told him that, now I have given you all the teachings. And whatever I know, I taught you. So it's not necessary that you have to hang around here. You go back to central Tibet, because, Milarepa was in the kind of border of Nepal or India and Tibet, around the place where Mount Kailash, very far from central Tibet. So he said, you go back to central Tibet, and there is a mountain called Gambodar. So you just go there, you practice there, you practice and stay there. And then he said that, you have lots of devotion to me. Now, you trust me. you have received my teachings, you really, have very strong devotion to me. But when you keep on practicing, then at a certain time, you will experience that, that your teacher, your old father, Milarepa, me, is nothing other than the Buddha. You will experience this deeply from your heart and you will know. When that experience comes, that's then the true devotion, highest form of devotion. Because that only comes when you actually experience the true teaching that I've been given you. And when that happens, then you can also teach. You can teach, you can share the teachings that I've given you, not before. So, this happened. He thought that time that, my devotion is so strong to Milarepa. It was there right from the beginning when I heard his name. So it can't become better, but actually it became better, stronger, clearer, completely certain, and things like that. So therefore, that's the real certainty, complete devotion. That's why devotion becomes important, because devotion is a practice. The more you understand the teachings, the stronger your devotion becomes. So therefore, it's very important to understand that, when we talk about devotion or the relationship between the teacher and the student, the relationship between the teacher and the student is the teaching. Nothing else. Teaching is the only connection between the teacher and the student. And practicing the teaching, developing the experience of that teaching in yourself is the act of devotion, not anything else. I think this is something very important to understand. Otherwise, you kind of you don't know what to do with devotion. And this is very important to know what to do with devotion or inspiration or whatever. That it is, the relationship with the teacher and the student is the teaching, and then what we have to do is the practice of the teaching. It's why it's always said that the best offering a student can do to the teacher, or the best way the student can please the teacher, is practice. This is the understanding, this is the main understanding, and I think it's very important. Now, therefore, the most important thing, it's very, very important. It's actually starts with this in most of the Vajrayana teachings, how to examine your teacher. Teacher becomes important because, the main reason why we have not become free from suffering, and we have not become wise, or we have not transformed ourselves, we have not learned how to be, free from all kind of problems and difficulties, is not because we don't want to. Everybody wants to be free from problems and suffering and pain. Everybody wants to have have to attain the highest form of happiness and joy and liberation. And they try their best, everybody. That's why we are so busy. But it's because we don't know how to. So therefore, if there is somebody who can show us how to do that, that's very, very important. We need somebody who can guide us, who can teach us, who can help us to work on ourselves, to bring wisdom, to develop our positive qualities, to awaken ourselves. It's very, very important. Because without that, we couldn't do it. But the problem is, we need to have a teacher or a guide who actually knows how to do it. If we get a wrong one, it doesn't work. Yeah? It could actually even mislead us. Getting a wrong teacher and then totally relying on that wrong teacher is the worst thing that can happen to us. There's the story of, Angulimala. Most of you have heard. He originally was a very bright student, actually the brightest of the whole group. Very bright, very intelligent, very strong, very hardworking, But then somehow, I wouldn't go into the details, he annoyed his teacher. And teacher became very, very upset with him. But he didn't want, he couldn't punish him because he was too good. So he misled him. He said, I'll show you, give you the most secret teaching. The most secret teaching is that if you kill people and cut their small fingers and make a mala of that, if you kill 1,000 persons and make a mala of that, their little fingers, if you succeed to do that, then you will become very great, something like that. Whatever, I don't know, but you will achieve it, whatever you want. So because he had some devotion or some trust in his teacher, so he just went and started killing people. And because he was so strong and he was so intelligent, and so he could, the army of the whole kingdom couldn't get him. So he became a very, like a big terrorist thing. It's a terror. So he, nobody could come and go in that area. So he keep on killing people and cutting this little finger and, making a mala. Then he had 999. Now he needed just one more. And he couldn't get anybody because nobody was coming out of their place and everything was secured by the army and things. Then he was thinking, now what can I do? Because I can't find anybody. Then he thought, maybe there's one person who will not run away from me. And that's my mother. I'll go and kill her and get her little finger. And he was going that way. And then he found Buddha. Buddha was walking in front of him. He was overjoyed. Oh, now I don't have to kill my mother. I can kill this stupid monk. So he ran after Buddha. And Buddha was walking quite slowly. And he was really running, and he was a very good runner. But he couldn't catch him. And after some time, he had to say, hey, stop. And Buddha stopped and turned back slowly and said, I stopped long time ago. You're the one who is not stopping. He got a little shocked because nobody dared to say something like that to him like that. And then he had discussion with Buddha. He said, I'm going to kill you. You know who am I? I'm Angulimala. He didn't see any fear in Buddha's eyes. And Buddha said, why do you kill? He said, well, if I get one more thing, I will get, I don't know what, some kind of a moksha or whatever. And Buddha cut a leaf from the tree that's growing next to him and says, please put this back on the tree. He said, how can I put it back on the tree? You have already cut it. So you can't put it back? He says, no. Can you give back the life that you have taken? No, I cannot. Then how can you take a life that you cannot give? So they start to talk, and then after some time, he realized that he was totally misguided. And then he said to Buddha, please, I want to follow you. And Buddha said, okay, you become my monk and you stop doing these negative things and then you can change. So he did that and then he became. So therefore, this is important is to have right kind of a good, a genuine teacher. And that is something not always easy to, Sometimes you will find people saying, I'm enlightened. I got enlightened in the Himalayas. I've seen some person like that. But when I hear somebody saying, I'm enlightened, I know he's not enlightened. Sometimes other people say he's enlightened. You don't know, I don't know who is enlightened, who is not enlightened, because I'm not enlightened. So I can't say, but you can a little bit, I think, see somebody is not enlightened. Because if somebody has even little bit of realization, they wouldn't have anger and hatred. They wouldn't have, attachment and greed. And they wouldn't have jealousy. They wouldn't have arrogance and pride. They wouldn't have ignorance. So if you find somebody with this, you can be 100% sure that he is not enlightened. Yeah? But it is not always necessary that if that person is not enlightened, he or she cannot be a good teacher. Gampopa says, that ordinary people, unenlightened people, can be teachers and good teachers also. Because, of course, if we can find a very enlightened, great bodhisattva teacher, that's great, but, it's not always easy. And we don't even know. But if we have a teacher who is ordinary, who is just, samsaric person, but if he or she is genuinely practicing Dharma and living what he or she is teaching, then it's okay to learn the Dharma from that person or persons. So I like teachers who say clearly that they are not enlightened. If somebody says he's enlightened and he pretends to be enlightened, I don't feel that confident. But then, what we need to do, this is, I think, very important. Because the main thing that we need to learn is the teaching. So therefore, the more we learn the teaching and the more we actually use it on ourselves, the more we actually get the benefit of these teachings, the more devotion necessarily grows in us. Not only towards the teacher, but also towards the teaching. And if that kind of devotion grows, then it doesn't make any difference whether the teacher is enlightened or not enlightened. Yeah? So that's I think, the most important thing. Sometimes people I see are always kind of, where is my teacher? Who is my teacher? When is he coming? I've heard people saying this, even asking me, who is my teacher? Where can I find my teacher? As if there is one assigned to you, by the kind of Almighty or something like that. I don't think it's like that, I don't feel that it's like I need to do like that, I have been very fortunate to have many great teachers, but it happened not because but it's not that, some of my teachers who have been, who doesn't have that kind of, the great kind of high, what can you say, high status, Tulku, Rinpoche, kind of His Holiness, or His Excellency, those kind of, nothing of this were my best teachers, It's not necessary. It's not necessary to be His Holiness. It is not necessary to be His Eminence. It's not necessary to be the, reincarnation of 10th, 12th, 19th, 20th. It just needs to be a person who actually knows the teaching and genuinely practicing that. And I think this is something which is not so difficult to find out whether that person really studied, really knows the subject, and a little bit lives by those, And then it's okay to receive teachings. And I believe that I need to receive teachings from as many teachers as possible. Because that's what I did. Not necessarily by choice, but by circumstances. At that time, when I first came out of Tibet, there was no Sheda. There was no Sheda. There was not even books, But there were lots of masters. So I just went to the master who was nearest to me and asked for his teaching. And I started with Nyingma teachers, Khenpos. I started with Sakchen Khenpos. I started with Kagyu. I started with Geluk. And I must say this as strongly and clearly as possible. I never got confused because of that. I don't think anybody will get confused because of that. If somebody tells you that you cannot take teachings from more than one person, otherwise you will be confused, they are telling lies. This is what I feel. Because it's the same teaching of the Buddha, And this is also, I think, very important, that sometimes people think that, one teacher is giving a teaching. It's his teaching. It's not his teaching. It's the teaching of the Buddha. It's not that person's teaching. This is the teaching coming from a lineage, teaching of the Buddha, teaching of the, So therefore it's not different, it's same. Of course, everybody would express in a slightly different way. Because you cannot, if I say something, if he says the same thing, we would say it in a slightly different way because we are different. But there is nothing really different, Sometimes it's even better because one teacher gives an explanation of same thing, and then another teacher explains the same thing in his own way, most of the time it makes it more clearer because it's slightly different way of saying and slightly different approach, but the same thing. So it makes it much more clearer and better, never confusing. So therefore, when this is understood, I think then you don't have problem with this teacher-student thing, which seems to be a big problem in the West. They always ask, what about teacher-student relation? I think it's very important to really understand this very clearly, and it is also, and the focus on the teaching, not on the teacher too much, is, I think, important also. Because what Buddha said, he said, rely on the Dharma, not on the personality. Actually, when Buddha was passing away, people asked, who is your regent? Who is your, who is that person that you give the charge of, who should we rely on after you have gone? He says, nobody. Rely on my Dharma. Rely on the Sangha. No one person. So therefore, Dharma and Sangha became very important. Not one person. I think that is also very important to understand. Of course, teachers are important. Especially if that teacher is a very genuine teacher, it's been very helpful and very kind and very, useful to you. You would feel very devoted. You will feel very, great gratitude, and, you feel very connected and very strong kind of. And that's very good. That's very, very good. But it's also important to understand that the main thing is not the personality of the teacher, but the teaching. And also, I think it is important to understand this, maybe, I feel. That anybody, anybody can have also obstacles. Whether they are teachers, actually, people who have a little bit more higher level of practice get more obstacles. An obstacle is sometimes called Mara. It's a Sanskrit word called Mara. You know Mara? It is said the Buddha, when he was about to get enlightened, the Maras was coming trying to obstruct him, no? In the story of Buddha. He was supposed to get enlightened at the dawn of that night, on the full moon night of this Vesak. And in that first part of the night, the Maras came and tried to obstruct him. First with, lots of nice dancing girls, and then lots of, threatening demons and things like that. That's kind of, these are symbolic maybe, but So even at that stage, the maras happen. So therefore, the maras can happen, the obstacles can happen to anybody. And I think it is also important to understand these obstacles, the maras, whether it's happening to yourself, whether it's happening to your teacher, or whether it's happening to your sangha. These maras, very important to recognize. I think you should read my book on maras. I'm trying to advertise it. You have seen that book that it's not my book, actually. It's a book by Whittier Rinpoche on the maras. I once taught it, and then some of my students tried to kind of, transcribe it and made into a book. I have lots of books. I'm a great writer, but I didn't write anything. There are general maras and specific maras. 4 general maras. Then specific maras, outer maras, 6 outer maras, 6 inner maras, 6 secret maras, 6 specially secret maras. It will be interesting. I think it's important to understand, people can have obstacles. And so therefore, sometimes, it is, and when these maras happen, or you have obstacles, you need to recognize that this is obstacles happening, and then you have to try to use remedies for that, try to get out of that. And if somebody, whether it's your student, or it's your teacher, or your friend going through these matters, you should also try to help them. Most important is compassion and trying to help, not to denounce, not to punish. You have to help. If there is a problem with some of your close people, whether it's your friend or your student, or your teacher, you need to help them to become better. That's how you can strengthen your own practice. That's how you can strengthen the sangha. That's how you can strengthen and help your students. It's not always easy, of course, but I think that's the main thing. That's the important thing. And sometimes, when you have maras, everything goes well. Yeah, also. There's a story. There's a story of 2 evil spirits. Maybe I told you this story. It's my favorite story. There are many, evil spirits, but there were 2 special ones. One is called Zen, and another called Jalpo. And the Zen is very quick, very swift, He just gives you a heart attack or stroke or something like that. Just gives you an accident. The Jalpo is more subtle. So these two people met on a pass. And then, Jalpo said, I'm the best. And the Zen said, I'm the best. And then they decide to make a contest. Who can harm people the best way? And so they try to find some targets, some, what do you call it? Yeah. And they looked around and they saw two lamas in two caves in this, kind of solitude place. And they selected a lama each. And the Zen went, like a lightning, it went and pushed the lama, his lama, over the cliff. The lama fell down, died. He come back in 1 second and says, look, I've done it. How good I am, And Jalpa said, did you actually harm him or helped him? Look what's happening to his consciousness. And his consciousness was going to Dewachen, to the Buddha realm. He says, did you really harm him? You just send him directly to the divine place, And then he was a little bit shocked. Then how do you do it? He said, wait and see. Wait and see. So his lama became very, everything he did became very successful. Anybody came for him to bless, become healed. Anything he did become successful. Even the rice or the barley he threw grew up with very big, ears. And, he became so popular and so, so many students, everybody was very kind of impressed by him and devoted. So he became too busy. He became too kind of, too important. So he couldn't stay in the cave. He had to go down to the village. And then he became richer, and he had lots of things. And then he fell in love with a girl, a nice, very beautiful girl. And then his business grew and grew and grew. And then he had lots of, activities, and lots of worldly things. And then he met some enemies here and enemies there, and some people were jealous with him, some people were angry with him, and then there were lots of kind of dissents and fightings and things like that. And one day somebody killed him and he died. There was no dharma in him, all forgotten and finished. So he became a slave to this Jalpo. And then he called his friend Zen and says, this is how you do it. Yeah? So therefore, it's very important to learn, to understand what's going on in you. Anybody can have obstacles and then become kind of corrupted. Yeah. So therefore, the devotion, the true devotion is the very, is in a way cure for these, obstacles also. When you have obstacles, then if you can generate a pure devotion and pray from your heart, it could actually clear. Because devotion is an emotion, which is, not a negative emotion, which is a positive emotion, but a clear emotion, And it is a humble and, which is not egoistic, or which is not arrogant or pride kind of thing, but very, genuine, with lots of humility and open heart. So that kind of devotion is regarded as a very good method or means of meditation. There are two things, two states of mind, which are very good for genuine meditation: devotion and compassion. If you are in a devotion state of mind and a compassion state of mind, and then you really allow your mind to be in its natural state, it's said that it's very easy to actually overcome all your, obstacles and problems and find the kind of right balance. So therefore, we do this Guru Yoga thing. Now again, it's very important to understand that Guru and Guru Yoga are two different things. Yeah? I think sometimes people also misunderstand, mix this up. The Guru Yoga and Guru. Because Guru Yoga is a practice, is a meditation. A way to bring, your devotion by visualizing or by using the Guru as a catalyst, but making it much more perfect. Using your Guru, but making it much more perfect. You use your Guru for your Guru Yoga because, first, it's very important to understand that your Guru is appointed or selected by you, nobody else. If somebody comes and says, I'm your Guru, you say, I don't want to use the word. So Guru is somebody whom you looked everywhere and found that he or she looks like the most qualified and most trustworthy and dependent person in the whole world. That's you select as Guru. So if anybody can inspire you in this world, it should be that, because it's you who feels that this person is trustworthy and genuine and things like that. But then when you do the Guru Yoga, it's not just that Guru, but make it what you can say, mix it up in a way, with all the enlightened beings, Your Guru becomes the Vajradhara, or whatever, the most enlightened person that you know about. And then feel that this is, the embodiment of all the enlightened essence, enlightened beings. And then your guru, including all the gurus of the lineage, including, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all together as one. That, then you use that as the Guru Yoga, and then you receive empowerment. You make kind of heartfelt prayers and things like that. So therefore, then you you are exercising to see things much more pure. And this is also an important thing because, we have the habit of focusing on problems and, on negative things, on impure things. So therefore, it's very important part of the practice that we try to also train ourselves to see the positive side and pure side of things. Because we need to do that. We are seeing too many problems. Always, this is the problem, that's the problem, this is not good, this is not good. Everything, whole world is a problem. Yeah? It is like that in a way, but, but it's like that because we are habituated to focus on the negative things. There are positive things also. There are lots of positive things in the world, even now. There are lots of positive things in America too. So therefore, I actually like this film that Michael Moore made. I don't know whether it's his last or not, but I saw one of them. What to attack? What was the name? What to attack next? No. What to? You have seen this film? You haven't seen this film? I've seen this film, and I've made everybody in Europe see this film. Huh?
Where to invade?
Oh yes, where to invade next? That's the one. He carries American flag and then travels all over Europe, And then he finds some very, very nice things there. Some very nice things there. And then he says, where it comes from? And they says, it comes all from America. So anyway, that's beside the point. So that's, I think I have talked too much. I think I'll stop here. And if you have any questions, you are most welcome. Yes. Yes.
So I had the good fortune of meeting His Holiness Dilgar Khyentse Rinpoche in 1987, and I had the very, very strong experience of just seeing very clearly that he was enlightened. I really had the strong certainty And it was not something, I didn't really know anything about him, but it was something about I don't know. I just had that very strong certainty. And one of the problems in the current world is that now we're able to read a lot of things. There are a lot of books, stories, et cetera, that have been published. And so I've read some things about Khyentse Rinpoche's life, and there are things that have happened where I go, what? That didn't really sound enlightened. Even at the last visit with Changling Rinpoche, Rinpoche recounted a story where it seemed like Changling Rinpoche was saying that Khyentse Rinpoche and his wife bickered, had arguments. And so you go, what? Here's this enlightened person who I have still very strong devotion to, strong certainty. And then there are these relative things that come up. And so how do you deal with that?
We live in samsara. So when we live in samsara, then, the samsara is all over, So, Tingkun Khyentse Rinpoche, I know very well, He's if there is somebody you can see or feel as enlightened, I think he's the one. His wife also is very highly practicing lady. But she's not always easy. Why not? But it's not, Khyentse Rinpoche never says anything. She can do anything and he doesn't say anything. But, these things I think doesn't really matter. I'm sure Buddha, during Buddha's time also, there were lots of things happened around, and also there's a saying in Tibetan that it's better that you stay 3 valleys away from your teacher. There is also some truth to it, because if you are always nearby, you will always have some problem, If not the teacher himself, maybe his wife, or maybe his attendant, or maybe his followers, or maybe, there is always problem. People are samsaric beings, so therefore, like that. And I think it's very important also, as I said before also, it's not that, people who are very highly realized people, it's not that they have like, they're not like otherworldly, They are human and lives in a human community. So I have to deal with all the human things and lots of difficulties. People always find faults. And it's not always easy to be a teacher also. Yeah. Many times, I'm not really a teacher. I'm just, the lowest of the low and the worst of the worst teacher. And I don't treat people as my students. I treat them as my friends. But many times, there's whatever I say or whatever I do, it's a problem. If I say something, it's a problem. If I don't say something, it's a problem. If I do something, it's a problem. If I don't, it's also, sometimes it's like that. It's like
Can I ask another question?
Yes. If others don't have any questions.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So in the jewel ornament of liberation, and the Gampopa talks about how to relate to spiritual friends, and says that the ordinary teacher, an ordinary person who teaches you the Dharma, is greater than the Buddha, is more important than the Buddha, because they're the person that you're connecting to. So how do you relate to somebody? How do you view somebody as Buddha, even though they're clearly an ordinary person?
I think what he's saying is not that his quality is better than Buddha. It's not like that. But ordinary teacher, a genuine, good ordinary teacher, ordinary means like samsaric teacher, is more important or more, because we can't connect with the Buddhas. No, Buddha is not there now, or at least we can't see Buddhas, but we can see this teacher, and we can connect, and we can learn. So therefore, for us, he or she is, in a way, more important than the Buddha. It's not saying that he's more qualified than Buddha. Of course not. But for us, and if that person is a genuine kind of practitioner, then, we can learn a lot. Any other? Yes?
Are you free at all at any point to go back to Tibet to visit your place where you were born? And also, as just a follow-up to that, we talk about, in practice, we talk about knowing what's inside of us. So things like anger. So when I see you, I see a person who was removed from their homeland. And yet, it's like a two-edged kind of thing for me and the Dharma, in the sense that had the Chinese not done what they did, I probably never would have seen you. So it feels a little strange in that way. In one sense, I'm very, very grateful for having learned of the Dharma. And I'm just wondering how you feel.
Everything has many different aspects, no? So it's like that, I don't know. It's a good thing for you to see me or not, but I went back only once, in 2005, and even that time I didn't get visa from India or even from Nepal. They say lamas are not welcome. Then I went to Hong Kong, and I sent some Chinese people to get me a tourist, just a tourist visa to China. So then they said I should go in my, not in robes, but in ordinary clothes. And I bought a pant. But since I've never wore a pant, I didn't know how to measure it. So when I actually put it on, I couldn't put it on because it didn't work, So I just went like this, and they didn't say anything. It was okay. I arrived. Yeah, I arrived Chengdu, and then. My monastery had informed people in the officers in Tibet, and so in Kham. So it's not in Tibet; it's in China. So I went there. So it was okay. The 7 departments came to help me, like intelligence and police and religious. 7 different departments came to help me. So I was there for 1 week in my monastery, a little bit nervous because on top of this, my monastery, some of the campus in my monastery made a video CD with lots of songs, first about myself and, welcoming me and things like that. But then one song on His Holiness Dalai Lama, not with his picture, but with the picture of Shenrezig, everybody could see it's him. Then on Karmapa, and all kind of things, lots of songs, video. And as soon as I arrived, they gave me, it's in your honor. I said, oh, thank you very much. But there was no way I could see it. And then after some day, I came to a town, and then I saw this, and I was shocked. Because there was long song, very nice song about the Dalai Lama. But one about Karmapa, there it's saying that, he kicked on the head of the communist and went over the Himalayas. That was kind of the real wording, I was so afraid. I said, don't give this to anybody, keep it totally secret. And they said, we already sold 2,000 copies. So I thought, they would close the monastery and arrest all of us. But it didn't happen. So later on, they called the singer. And they said, what is this? The singer said, I don't know. I don't understand what is written there. I just was told to sing it, so I sang it. So then they called the Kempo, who wrote the song. And then he wrote a commentary on this, 50-page long commentary, making it very Buddhist philosophical. And he didn't get arrested. So it was very lucky. But that was my last visit. I didn't dare to visit after that. But it's revived. My monastery is revived. I send money every month, but last year I couldn't send any money because the money I send, they return it. Not allowed. But now I found another way, but I wouldn't tell you. We have rebuilt the monastery. We have Sheda now, we have Drupta now, we have a school, we have a clinic. They nearly closed the school, but now it's okay. But it's becoming now it's, at this moment, it's becoming tighter and tighter every day almost. Yeah. So nobody knows what will happen. But I'm free. Yeah. So
8:56 p.m. Mostly cloudy.
it's a little bit cloudy, he says. Anybody, any more question? No? I think that's enough, no? So, thank you very, very much. Thank you.